Good afternoon and welcome. You're watching the Business Today show where we talk about the market closing action and you get everything to know about what has happened through the course of the day, and we will wrap up all the buzzing action for you here. I'm Sakshi Batra. Look at the markets right now, 25,741. We are still up by about 2.5% higher. Remember, we opened up with substantial gains of over 1,200 points on the Nifty today, and that was on the back of the last night's announcement by US President Donald Trump on US-India trade deal. This was also mentioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he tweeted again saying that yes, there is a deal in place and Indian exports to the US will now attract tariffs of 18% vis-a-vis the initial 50% tariffs that we were imposed by. And this is good news coming in as well. And that's what we are going to be decoding in the large part of our discussion today. Let's welcome Abhishek Basu Malik, the co-founder and fund manager at Sri Rama Managers PMS as well. Also, we have Rajni Sinha, the chief economist at Care Edge Group, joining in on the program. Warm welcome to both of you and thank you so much for taking the time out. Abhishek, to you first. How do you look at the reaction of the markets on the US-India trade deal? Is there more rally to go or is most of the good news already now in the price?
So, good afternoon to you and all the viewers. I think a rally was expected. The last year has been quite bad, primarily because of the uncertainty around tariffs, uncertainty around the narrative related to the India-US relationship, and that seems to be for now on the back burner. Seems to have at least the contours of a deal has been mapped out, though we are still awaiting the actual deal, and until and unless we really get that, we won't be able to for sure know what the terms are and
Sure.
who's going to benefit. But
Yeah.
in general, it's definitely very, very good news for the markets.
Fantastic. Rajni is also with us. Good afternoon to you, Rajni. Abhishek points out that till the time we see the fine print, we wouldn't really know whether it's a win-win deal for both US and India. But the good part that the markets are reacting to is that after a long haul wait of almost 1 year, finally we have both the premiers of the nation saying that yes, there is a deal in place. 18% tariffs, far better than what the 50% tariffs were. So the exporters, textiles, gems and jewelry companies, even the auto ancillary majors, these are all heaving a sigh of relief, and we have seen the stock prices also rising high. What I want to know from you is, what do you really make of the caveats that Donald Trump has made in his long mention on the social media posts? He's talked about that, yes, India has agreed to buy more American at higher prices. He's talked about a $500 billion figure as well. He's also talked about how we've agreed to stop buying Russian oil and we will therefore buy more American oil and Venezuelan oil. We don't have any confirmation from Indian side so far, but what would these caveats mean?
Sakshi, before we go to the caveats, very quickly, I would like to cover on the positives.
Yes.
Given that, India exports around 20% of our exports go to US, and
Yes.
with the tariff reducing, we are expecting this to give a big boost to growth. So we
Hmm.
are, as per our estimate, the growth number we have revised up by zero point 0.2 percentage point.
Okay.
So that's the kind of momentum we are expecting that will get generated by this trade deal. Though we still don't have the details, but from the broad contour, we still feel it will give a boost to growth of around 0.2 percentage point. The other thing is, it also, like we were discussing, it will also give a big boost to sentiments. So capital flows, which is a big cause of concern right now, both FII and FDI flows, that should that should again start going up. And that would also provide a respite to our currency. So if you see, otherwise the macro fundamentals were good, but the big concern was the very low capital flows and the impact that would have on our BOP and on our currency. So the good thing is that this will also take care of that aspect. Now, coming to the caveats, see, when it comes to the number that President Trump has given of $500 billion, it's not specified by when India will be importing. So,
Yeah.
just to give a perspective, currently India imports around $45 billion from US. So, that going up to $500 billion is a humongous task. But the period has not been specified, so it
Yeah.
could be whatever, anyone's guess, 5 years, 10 years. So that's one thing. Second, again, India, it it's unlikely that India will completely stop buying Russian crude oil. Anyways, the quantum of crude oil that we were buying from Russia had been going down in the last few months, and that trend is likely to continue. But most probably, I really doubt that we'll completely stop, but we'll have to
Yeah,
see the details as it comes. So,
sure.
and in terms of, whether our tariffs, everything will be reduced to zero,
Hmm,
that's also not clear because looks like, some of the sensitive sectors in agri and dairy that may still not be reduced to zero. So we'll have to wait for
absolutely.
those details.
Right. Abhishek, I'm coming to you and I want to understand from you, does this deal announcement make a certain sectors more attractive than the others? Would you be now aggressive on the export-oriented sectors? For a large part of 2025, we kept on telling investors, stay with the domestic focused names, stay with the domestic themes, you will stay protected from the external shocks. Now that the deal is done and the elephant in the room is something that everybody is watching, how would you address those sectors?
So obviously, I think exports will come back, and the other important factor is we've got two fairly large back-to-back deals. One with the EU now, as and when we see the US will get better clarity. But sectors like textiles could actually become very big beneficiaries because the competition with us is Bangladesh, Vietnam, China, all of who are have some kind of either constraints or higher tariffs. So if we have zero tariffs for textiles, they could be very big winners in the medium to long term. So that's something that definitely one should look at. Uh, with US, I think the standard ones, engineering, auto ancillaries, etc., uh, should continue to do well.
Okay. Rashni, coming to you as well, I wanted to understand, I think the big, talking point right now is, will this deal finally reverse the outflow of money that we had been seeing, either by way of foreign institutional money or FDI money, which has been finding out other better markets than us? Will all of that money find its way back to India?
So, Sakshi, not all of it, but I would say some of it.
Okay.
Because if you see, if I try to give a reason as to why this FII outflows were happening, let's first talk about FII and then we come to FDI. So, India's fundamentals are good in terms of, growth, inflation, current account deficit, and still these outflows were happening. So, one reason was this uncertainty around trade deal, India-US trade deal, and the fact that India had been pushed to a corner with the highest tariff. And second reason was what has been happening outside India in terms of AI boom that has been happening and interest of the investors in those sectors where India has been lagging, and hence we see a lot of flows going into US and China into AI. So that part of the story will still continue. Part of the flows which are going to these more
Yeah.
attractive sectors that may continue, but yes, the part which had gone out because of this uncertainty around India's relationship with US, at least that part should get confidence to come back. And as far as FDI flows is concerned, that will also get positively impacted by this development. As already in FY26, in the fiscal year so far, the data that we have, the net FDI flows have improved to around $6-7 billion, which is still low, but still it's better than $1 billion that we had in FY25. So gross is still good, but repatriation and FDI outflows happening because of which the net number is low. But net has also started improving. And we feel with some of the announcements in the budget around data centers and ITS services, we could see FDI flows also improving going
Sure.
forward.
Okay. Abhishek, let me ask you, if some of that FII money has to find its way back to India, which are the segments or the markets that you believe will be first on their radar, and therefore that segment or those sectors seem to look attractive now?
See, like Rajni just mentioned, I think India does not have too many plays in the modern tech AI kind of area. So that's a
Yeah.
problem that we have. But for a likely FII investor, some of the easier sectors to pick would be the large banks, the HDFCs, ICICI, Axis banks of the world. You also have a lot of good,
Right.
auto companies, auto ancillaries, who are globally competitive. We have chemical companies again, where the China plus one theme again will start being talked about.
Right.
Like I mentioned earlier, cement,
Okay, there's
sorry,
breaking news coming in
textile.
on the screen, viewers. Let me just first address that. Abhishek, sorry to be cutting you. Russia's first response on the India-US trade deal has actually come in. Now, viewers, we have seen that in this statement, Russia is saying that they've not heard any statement from India about it halting oil purchases from Russia. Kremlin on Trump's remarks that India will halt Russian oil purchases. This is the statement that's coming in, and they have said that their strategic partnership with India is most important. Kremlin has also pointed out that they intend to develop the strategic partnership with India onward from here. This is the first time that we are hearing Russia's statements come in after the US-India trade deal has been signed, and how Donald Trump clearly mentioned in his statements on social media saying that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. That's the statement that is coming in from Moscow has reacted that India, they've not heard any statement, official statement from India about us halting the oil purchases from Russia. Very important statement coming in there. Yes, Abhishek, may you please continue.
I think
Abhishek?
whenever when the deal with US is being done, I'm pretty certain that Russia would have been in the loop. I don't think that we would be having a deal where Russia would be completely blindsided. At least that's my
Yeah, absolutely.
personal observation.
Yeah, even
Coming back.
Rajni said that. Even Rajni said that. Rajni also said that, we may be already looking at reducing the oil purchases, but will we halt it completely is something that's the question, right, Rajni? And how do you react to this statement coming in from Russia?
So, Sakshi, we'll just have to wait to get more clarity and a statement from Indian officials as to what will be our stand on this. But looks like they will probably reduce it further, but completely stopping it immediately looks difficult.
Okay. Abhishek, to you, the segments and the sectors that you were talking about that look attractive, that FIS will start pouring in money now immediately. You said auto ancillaries would be one.
So banking, auto ancillaries, textiles, the most of the larger cap plays, where traditional FII investments have been, right? Those look, again look interesting for foreign capital to come in and
Right.
get deployed. I think the Indian domestic opportunity for them is actually very lucrative. The other sector
Sure.
that probably nobody is talking about again, like we discussed last week, was IT. I think Indian IT services again could see some, pickup from here.
Okay. Rashni, to you, you did also mention that FDI money should also be looking at the Indian market now post this deal. One of the factors that was keeping the foreign direct investors at bay was also the falling rupee. Now that today itself, we have seen, the rupee improve by 1.5 points against the dollar, and we do see it at 90 odd levels coming back. Finally, things improving on the rupee. What do you think about this aspect, probably attracting the FDI?
Yeah, absolutely. This would be an important factor because even while, we were talking about good growth and low inflation and current account deficit being in control at around 1% of GDP, we were seeing consistent weakness in rupee. And the one big reason for that was FII outflows that we were seeing. And if some part of FII outflows also improve because of this trade deal and the sentiments improving, definitely that will provide support to rupee. We have already seen rupee reacting today, but otherwise also we were of the view that rupee will go to 89-90 level.
Okay,
Even before the deal, that was our view because we were expecting trade deal to happen this year, though there's lack of clarity when, but
sure.
it was expected it will happen, and hence we were expecting rupee at around 89-90 dollar. So
Okay.
this will also be a supporting factor for FDI.
Sure. Stay on with us. I'm just going to be wrapping up the markets. 25,713 on the Nifty, 624 points higher in trade. So we've had a strong finish to this stellar of a rally that we've seen today. Nifty Bank, a photo finish there, 2.3% higher at 60,000 levels. Look at all the sectors that have managed to end higher. Real estate up by 4%, financial services 3%, infrastructure 3%, pharma 3%, even metals over 2%, autos up 2%, and even the broader markets are over 2% higher in trade, and all the sectors have been about. Look at the top names on the Nifty. Adani Enterprises 10% higher, Adani Ports 9% higher, Geo Finance 8% up, Indigo, Bajaj Finance, Power Grid, all of these stocks are actually hovering higher in trade. Viewers, let's also shift focus to Navi Mumbai Airport. Just after the opening of this airport and signing a new agreement with Embraer SA to establish aircraft manufacturing facility in India, it's now Adani Defence which has joined hands with Italy's Leonardo for manufacturing of the helicopters in India. The collaboration also aims to build a comprehensive helicopter ecosystem in India, spanning manufacturing, training, world-class support. The focus, officials now are saying, is not just capability but even long-term confidence in India's defence self-reliance.
Our armed forces have protected the nation across landscapes that test the limits of human endurance. Towering mountains, vast deserts, dense forests and long coastlines. Their courage has always been unwavering. Our responsibility is to ensure that the capabilities that they rely on evolve with the same unwavering resolve. Our partnership with Leonardo respects this responsibility. It is a partnership rooted not only in shared expertise but in shared purpose. Together, we will build an ecosystem on Indian soil that brings manufacturing, assembly, training and world-class support into one cohesive whole.
Right, and that was probably one of the reasons why the Adani Group stocks were also up and about. Of course, Adani Ports also came out with the results, and that also had a part to play, and the group sentiments were also higher. But apart from this, we're also looking at how, the Supreme Court has now slammed WhatsApp and Meta over their privacy policy, calling it a decent way of committing theft of private information. That strong statement coming in. And for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Anisha Mahathur, who has full details on the court's observations and implications for users as well. Strong statements coming in, Anisha, from the Supreme Court, which has slammed WhatsApp and Meta over their privacy policy. Supreme Court has also given an example of how the average user of WhatsApp on the streets of India, a daily wager, or maybe somebody who sells fruits, vegetables on the street, will be able to really understand what their complicated private policy conditions are. Do help us understand, what are you gathering?
See, Sakshi, this petition, remember, has been filed. This matter has been in the legal circles between various courts for the last 4 or 5 years. This is the 2021 privacy policy that was initially went before the Competition Commission of India, which held that WhatsApp and Meta are misusing their market dominance to force users to accept a privacy policy that goes against their own right to privacy. Then this matter went to the NCLAT, which had upheld the fine that was imposed by the CCI, and then has come to the Supreme Court. Now, there are 4 aspects to this. First of all, is the privacy policy something that an ordinary user understands?
Yeah.
The Chief Justice-led bench in the Supreme Court has today very clearly said that most people, including even lawyers and judges, will not be able to understand the opt-out option that has been given in this privacy policy, and therefore WhatsApp is essentially not just violating privacy, but it is also using user data, that is the metadata, to create. Give me 10 more seconds
out
if you
of
can.
time now on the bulletin, but we will continue to track this story even going forward from here, viewers. That's a wrap on the Business Today show, but don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning again at 9 a.m. for all the market opening action with Apa Pakaya.